Today's my last day. Today is my last day. Yes. Why? Because I was laid off. I joined UPS in 2021 as a package car driver. In 2024, I got called to go to the truck driving division of UPS. And the reason I wanted to do that was for this exact situation, being laid off. Becoming a truck driver actually gives me a few different levels of security. But today's my last day, and we will see how this all plays out. I may not be able to work for 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month, maybe a couple months, because the company has a lot going on and they're not organized at all. So if I'm not able to work for a month, that will not surprise me at all. Layoffs are happening everywhere at a bunch of companies. So just be prepared and have a plan and have a strategy.
Shows a declining volume of imports as well. How concerned are you?
Yeah, I think it's a real issue. It's a real concern. I mean, it's going to bring people's memory back to COVID where we had all sorts of shortages. This could happen again.
As a new Lending Tree survey shows some pretty eye-opening numbers. Look at this. 25% of Americans who have buy now, pay later loans are using them to help afford groceries.
Welcome back to The Imperfect Dollar. I'm Brittany. Today we're diving into some of the biggest shifts shaping our economy right now, from the continued wave of trucking industry layoffs to new changes in tariffs that are already impacting the way we shop. And if you've been seeing empty shelves or rising prices, trust me, you're not alone. We'll also talk about how to avoid the cycle of panic buying, and I'll share some tips on how you can make smart, calm choices in uncertain times. Let's get into it.
The executive director at the Port of Los Angeles has warned that shipping volume from China will plummet this week. He joins me now to discuss. Gene Soroka and Justin Wolfers is here.
As of early 2025, the Port of Los Angeles was handling approximately 924,000 20-foot equivalent units. In January, it averaged around 29,000 containers per day. However, following the implementation of new tariffs by the Trump administration, including a 145% tariff on Chinese imports, the port has experienced significant decline in shipments. What do you think that's going to mean for us in America? Recent reports indicate a 35% drop in container volume at the Port of Los Angeles. This downturn is attributed to canceled orders, shipping suspensions, and a broader slowdown in supply chain activity. This is reminiscent of disruptions seen during the 19 pandemic.
Gene, tell us what you've seen so far, because I know you've already said that a number of major American retailers, the big guys, have stopped shipments from China altogether.
What we're seeing is that about 20% of the normally scheduled vessel arrivals for the month of May have been canceled. This week in particular, the cargo is extremely light, about 35% lower than the same time last year.
So for your average person who's saying cargo ships, how does that affect me? What is that going to mean when they go to their small store in their hometown or a big box store next week or the week after?
Now, from the last segment, you hit it on the nail on the head, Steph. We've got about 125,000 importing companies that call the Port of Los Angeles home every year. No one has more than a 5% share. So it's the small to medium-sized folks that didn't have the opportunity to stock up on inventory before this day of tariffs hit. Now they're in the middle of the crosshairs saying, either I buy at these exorbitant prices, 2.5 times more what they were just last month, and I can't pass on that cost to keep up with the big guys. So we'll likely see about 4 to 6 more weeks of normal inventory levels, then some spot shortages. You may not be able to find exactly what you want, where you want it.
The sharp decline in shipments arriving at U.S. ports, particularly at major hubs like the Port of Los Angeles, is triggering a ripple effect that stretches far beyond the docks. With fewer containers entering the country, the demand for trucking services to move those goods inland drops just as quickly. Port drayage drivers, who are responsible for hauling containers from the port to nearby warehouses and distribution centers, find themselves with fewer loads and longer idle times. This contraction in freight volume inevitably extends to long-haul and regional trucking as well, reducing the flow of goods to retailers and manufacturers across the nation. As shipments slow and freight demand weakens, many trucking companies are forced to cut hours, reduce shifts, or lay off drivers altogether, compounding the economic strain on a workforce that is vital to the nation's supply chain.
Michael, and these are big job cuts coming to UPS. The company announcing that they will lay off those 20,000 workers and close a number of facilities as it dramatically reduces shipments of Amazon packages, something that's been in the works for quite some time. Like so many companies recently, though, UPS also saying it won't be able to forecast future guidance given the current macroeconomic uncertainty with tariffs. Railroad companies, trucking, airline, and shipping companies have all felt significant slowdowns recently, with U.S. companies effectively sitting on their hands waiting to see how long and how impactful President Trump's tariffs will be on their businesses. Shippers experienced this surge in traffic early in the year as U.S. businesses raced to get ahead of the tariffs and stockpile merchandise and supplies. And now we have this ongoing uncertainty. The more of it that we see, the longer it lasts, the more concerned economists are that it will lead to further job cuts at all sorts of companies. Rob.
Away from some of it. So they're stepping away from, $5 billion in business, maybe $5 to $10 billion in Amazon business. And that necessitates laying off 20,000 workers. Again, for context, that's roughly 5% of the workforce. UPS has almost 500,000 people working for it.
I've got a few articles that I want to share with you really quickly before we get into the next news clip. I hope that you guys are understanding how everything is coming together because countries are not sending goods over here to the ports. Therefore, they don't need as many truck drivers to deliver the goods because there's less goods. And then because there's less goods, we're not going to have a big stock at stores. That means the products that we love and that we want, there are going to be less of them. That's just the reality. Eventually, it's going to slow down. Not immediately. It's going to take some time. And if you can find some of the items in stores that you really like, but there's not a lot of them, because there's a higher demand for it, that means the price is going to go up inevitably. We just have to be realistic. We can control how we react to the situation. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit later in this video. So stay tuned for that. Oakland trucking companies hit by trade war weigh job cuts. So there's other trucking companies besides UPS that are laying off truck drivers, even though there has been a shortage of truck drivers. Business at the Port of Oakland has dropped more than 70% for some due to the economic face-off between the US and China. As the trucking industry already faced a severe driver shortage, which could get worse, a rash of layoffs could have a lasting impact, Abouty said. He compared the effect of furloughs to that of a cheating spouse. If the trust in a relationship is lost, it's hard to recover. A laid-off worker might leave the industry entirely. We're depleting our good driver pool, he said. Once you lose them, you're not going to get them back. He's trying to stay positive that the U.S. and China will settle on less aggressive tariff policy. We just hope that these guys will get with it soon and stop playing games with our livelihoods. We're not laying off our guys yet, but if I can't make payroll, what can I do? What can he do? I mean, that's realistic. If he's not making enough money in his business, how can he afford to pay these truckers? He needs shipments to come in. He needs these contracts. If the contracts aren't coming in to begin with, you can't pay these truckers and you have to let some of them go.
Some of the damage is already done, whether you undo it or not.
Well, it's going to sound ridiculous, but supply chains have an enormously long lead time. So I'm going to say something that is absolutely going to seem absurd, but there is a potential of what's happening right now. Even if we get a deal in the next 3 months, I'm specifically talking about China. Even if we get a deal, you could have problems getting your hands on holiday goods. And so things about Christmas, those Christmas gifts, it sounds absurd, but you might want to start doing your Christmas shopping right now, because when you go to shop in the stores in October, November, and December, the items that you would expect to normally see may not be there, or the selection may not be there. So that sounds insane, but because of the long lead time, because companies order these products 6 to 9 months in advance, it just takes a long time to move through the supply chain. So go ahead and prepare now.
Yeah, I mean, that is a wild thought. And the procrastinator in me, Craig, that doesn't do a lot of my Christmas shopping until December 23rd, is sort of having a little meltdown. But I appreciate the heads up. Thank you.
Good morning, Michael. I mean, when it comes to groceries, economists project that if consumers are made to absorb the entirety of the 20% import tariffs on Europe, things like this, olive oil from Italy, $20 now, it'll be up to $24. And something else that folks are really not going to like, alcohol could also rise by that 20% as well. But not just imported alcohol from Europe, but also domestically produced alcohol because of the tariffs on aluminum and on glass. Something else, seafood. The USDA says about 80% of seafood consumption in the U.S. comes from high tariff countries: India, Indonesia, China, Canada, Vietnam. So that could rise.
Besides the trucker layoffs and grocery prices rising, there are other brands that are trying to encourage their consumers to purchase more before they raise their prices due to the tariffs. Dumpster fire. Retailers urge shoppers to buy now before tariffs raise prices. Private direct-to-consumer brands such as Base, Bare Necessities, and Fashion Nova are leaning on President Donald Trump's trade war as a marketing strategy. Some companies may be looking to shore up their financials before consumer spending risks dropping in the coming weeks due to higher prices and potential shortages. Brands such as Bare Necessities held an outright pre-tariff sale, while others such as Base leaned on humor to remove the political stink from tariffs, still encouraging shoppers to buy. I think this is just crazy. Have you noticed anything like this? Let me know in the comments below if you got any text messages or emails from companies where you don't really need products from, but you like to buy their products, maybe handbags or another coat that you may not need. You like some of their stuff, but you don't really need their stuff at this moment. Have they been having these pre-tariff sales? Because I just found this to be just incredible, especially the way people are getting laid off right now and suffering in this economy. But businesses don't care, right? They want to make their money. They do not care. They will take your money. So be careful with the way that you spend your money. Your money has power. Hold on to it and really think twice before you spend it. You might want to save it or invest it instead, or put it towards something else that is more vital to you in the long run. Pre-tariff promotions could be the reason why some spending data in March came in better than expected, because some shoppers are making purchases now before prices rise, particularly big ticket items such as cars. I can't believe that a lot of people are buying cars. People who have the means are hearing all this talk. They are hearing some of the advertisements, and they're actually getting out there shopping so that they can get purchases in before the prices go up. Other brands such as the luggage company Base did not do an outright pre-tariff sale. The brand sent a letter to shoppers explaining it did not know if prices would increase or by how much, but rates would not change for now. Let's skip the corporate speak. The tariff situation is a complete dumpster fire and we're all getting burned. Here's the situation. Costs are up, and unfortunately our prices will have to follow suit. Base team wrote in a letter adding that it is financially traumatized. You're probably wondering what this means for your cart. Unfortunately, so are we. Honestly, we're just as confused as everyone else, but changes are coming. What kind of changes? Don't know. When? Could be tomorrow, or we don't know that either. The company leaned on humor in its message, telling shoppers our spreadsheets have spreadsheets, and said it has considered everything from company-wide ramen diets to an OnlyFans account to avoid raising prices. But within the jokes was a subtle call to action. If you've been eyeing something, now might be a good time to make your move, as current pricing remains in effect for now. I just think that's a smart move by the company, but at the same time kind of crazy with everything that's happening. But they have to make their money and they don't want to go out of business, right? Again, we have to figure out how we can control our own spending and be smart with everything that is happening around us. We can't just panic buy, because that's one of the ways that gets us to think, oh my gosh, we have to get it now before the price goes up. Unless it's been something that's been on your wish list or that you've wanted for a long time, then go ahead and get it, especially if you have the funds and you don't have to use the buy now, pay later app, okay? If you do, don't buy it. Or if you have to use a credit card and you can't pay that credit card off right away, do not do it. I'm going to give you some tips on how not to panic buy during these tough times that are expected to come in the next couple of months. In one of my recent videos, a lot of people were saying that I was causing people to panic buy. I'm not. I'm just telling you to be prepared, because it appears that tough times are going to be happening, especially since they're expecting shortages to happen in the next couple of months. I don't want you to hoard. I want you to just be prepared for yourself and your family, so this way it does not hit you in the face when the prices start to rise and it becomes unaffordable for most of us. This is something that I noticed a few years ago, and I hope that after this video, you're going to pay attention to the size of the products that you're buying. Beware of shrinkflation. Because stores do not want to drive customers away, what they will do is shrink the package contents of most items just by a little bit and charge the same price. So you think that you're getting that product at the same price, but you're actually getting less than what you paid for previously. So look at the cost per unit. In a previous video where I shared how you can start a prepper pantry with $40 or less at Walmart, and of course you can purchase those items at another grocery store, I showed how I was looking at the cost per unit or per pound. There's different ways that you'll see the differences in the prices so you can know that you're getting the best price for whatever it is that you're trying to buy. Try your best not to be so easily swayed by advertisements. Make a list and stick to it. Food manufacturers in the U.S. spend an estimated $50 billion, that's right, on placement and promotional fees to grocery chains, all with the intention of swaying your purchase decisions. Make a list and stick to it. Don't get anything extra, so that way you can make sure you don't end up overspending at the grocery store. Another tip is to check out frozen, dried, and canned goods. Healthy foods include more than just fresh produce. Fresh produce sometimes can be a bit expensive. There are other options available to you. Sometimes when we get those emails that tell us the items are on sale, they're not always a good deal. Sometimes sales can lure you into buying an item that you don't need or paying a price that is too high. Be careful. And the last tip, consider generic or store brands. These foods are also referred to as private label brands and are often produced in the same manufacturing facilities with the same ingredients as more heavily marketed national brands. Now, I know some things are not exactly the same. Trust me, I've tried store brands with certain items and the name brand, and you just don't get the same flavor. But there are times when they do taste almost exactly the same, and that is a way that you can get the foods that you like along with saving money. We're facing a lot of moving parts right now. The trucking industry is going through major layoffs that could ripple through supply chains. Tariffs are driving prices higher, and unfortunately, some companies are using this moment to raise prices even when their own costs haven't gone up. It's a lot to take in, but remember, staying informed is the first step to staying empowered. And by using the tips we covered to avoid panic buying, we can make steady, intentional choices that protect both our wallets and our peace of mind. Thanks for watching. Stay calm, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next video. Go ahead, check this one out if you haven't seen it already, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel.